G'day and welcome. Yes, I do transition coaching. About 50 years ago when I started my first business, I reached out. As the business grew, I reached out for all the help I could get. My accountant, my financial controller, the external people that I hired gave me advice, and the advice either A, wasn't good enough, or B, I didn't listen to it clear enough. 10 years later, that business was making a big profit, but my family was gone and I'd paid a huge price for my success. I rebuilt my family, I rebuilt my life and gave away the business and started all over again. Went back to university and did an MBA and did a few things. Went to India, went to Nepal, climbed a few mountains, went to America to live and became a professional coach and a professional speaker. So for the last 30 or 35 years, I've been working coaching and inspiring other entrepreneurs and business executives to look after themselves and their business. I think we live in a universe where our problems become the walls and the constrictions in which we operate. Our brain has the capacity to reach right out, far into the distance, far beyond space, and observe something on television, but when it comes to running our businesses and running our lives, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. My job, for those of people who hire my services, is to help keep you expanded at the same time not missing the opportunity to smell the roses. In every expansion, there's a new vision, there's a sense of purpose, and there's inspiration. These are very, very beautiful states of mind, and they're very magnetic. They attract a lot of energy. At the same token, if all that expansion leads to a lack of enjoyment of life, a lack of care for yourself, a lack of respect for our inner world, our inner wealth as I call it, it's all for nothing. Coaching means that every single day there's some form of transition in your life, but there's an overriding transition. We all want more. We want to do our best. We want to make the world a better place. We want the people who love us and we love to thrive within our care. And we want the people at work that we coach or lead or administer or manage, we want them to go home with a smile on their dial. And I think this ambition is a really important thing to acknowledge when you reach out and think to yourself, should I be coached? We can't solve problems from the level at which we created them. Einstein's famous quote. And I think that's really true. I think it's really true that sometimes we look inward and we introspect, and that's the most damaging thing we can do. Sometimes we look outwards and we try to analyze and become rational, and that sometimes can be the most dangerous thing you can do. In the times that I've spent in Nepal, up in the Himalayas with monks and nuns and Sherpas and mountains and the most magnificent places, taking executives like yourselves up there to explore themselves and explore their future, transition has been the big word. What are we going to go from to? And we sometimes might say, I'm going to go from being an executive in a business to owning my own business. I think we all have an entrepreneur in us. And so developing a clarity of vision, and one that's not a fantasy, staying real. I think staying real is one of the most important things in life, in business, and in family. I think staying real means we stay honest with ourselves and with each other. And the first thing in that is to understand what we feel. It's very easy to cast a shadow on ourselves and say, I should feel this and I should do this and I should be doing that. But it's not very honest. And I think the pace of life is making that journey of self-honesty much harder. So I've developed tricks and tools to help us be a little more authentic, a little more genuine with each other and with ourselves, so that we don't get, like I did, a long way down a path and find we've gone down the wrong street and it's hard to reverse the semi-trailer. I think it's also important to acknowledge that time spent doing something that's a waste of time is a waste of time. So working hard is not always the best policy when it comes to getting things done. I like to say to people, if you're not going home with more energy than you came to work with in the morning, you certainly need to change something. And that's not changing something within the scope and the framework of what you already know. Because if you could, you would. The fact is, there's things to learn and things to grow and things to expand and things to thrive on and things to enjoy. And I think my job in coaching and helping people in transition and guiding the people that I coach is to make sure they stay at the peak of their leadership, to make sure that they have clear and unbiased concepts of where they want to go and where they want to end up. I think it's really important to understand the importance of family and home life and what I call home ground advantage, and to be aware of what I call pig poo boots, which comes from the idea that if we're at work and we're working in amongst the dirt and the rubble of work, we shouldn't be trampsing those shoes through the house when we get home. We need to know how to clean our energy, and I have process to help you do that. All of these skills that I teach at some level are already available. The only question is, how long do they take? I work with people who if they spent 1 minute off track, it will influence millions of people. I work with people who stand on stage and have to sing the next note of their life while dealing with domestic problems and dealing with sadness that has come through a crisis. I deal with people who are looking after youth at risk, who, if they turn their eye 1 second away from the ball, somebody will take their own life. And I deal with corporate. I deal with entrepreneurs whose businesses don't always go as they planned. And I think that when it comes to this, there's very few things more important than knowing yourself, knowing your groundedness, knowing your strengths, knowing your assets, but also having a good friend, a coach, a guide, someone like me. When I ran my businesses back in the old days, 40 odd years ago, I reached out for help and it wasn't there. And I decided at that time that I'd become that help. I wasn't lacking the resources. It's just I couldn't explain my problem. I think understanding ourselves means knowing the questions to ask of ourselves, knowing the questions to ask when things go wrong. And I call that finding order in the chaos. I believe there is order in the chaos because I follow nature's universal laws. There are many philosophies around. I've studied many of them: Buddhism, Hindu, yoga. I've studied the religions of the West, the Christian, the Islam, Jewish religion, and I find these all so beautiful. I find them beautiful, but none of them is whole. None of them is total. And what I was looking for in my life was a philosophy that could say, you can come to work with the same philosophy you go home with. It works in all areas, but it not only works to make you a nice guy, because I think in many cases we make that mistake. We think that our responsibility is to be the nice guy. I think the responsibility is to be the authentic one, to be real, to be genuine in our mission and our advocacy. I think it's important to say, if I'm going to do something, I will do it with all my might, with all my heart, with all my soul. I will do it, I will do it, I will do it. Staying true to that is not easy. Staying true to that is not easy. I've been a sportsman in my life. I've climbed mountains, I've paddled kayaks, I've ridden bikes. I've done all sorts of things in sport. And I know how hard it is when the reality strikes, when the pain comes from doing something for a protracted period of time. No different to being in a family, no different to being in a business. So when I teach holistic living. In other words, an awareness of all 7 areas of life so that a person stays balanced while they succeed. I don't think we should have to pay the price, such a high price for success. And many of the people I coach are laughing, having fun, experiencing joy, loving their family, and making a fortune. And I think that's totally possible. So I invite you to look through the website, look around, see if you resonate with what we're talking about here on this video. If you are, I'm not a man of hype. I'm a man of truth. I'm a man of reality. I believe in saying what it is you want and then looking after and going and getting it. I believe in having a vision that's sky high And I believe in that, in the moment of creating a vision quest and me helping people create a vision quest, that is a moment of truth that we hold on to. But what becomes important then becomes the steps that we walk, the inspired steps that we walk every single day of our lives towards that vision. If this is of interest to you, I'm looking forward to talking to you too. This is Chris Walker. You have a beautiful day. Bye for now.